Hey guys, how's it going? So my name is Devin. I'm with OpenSea. My co-founder Alex is over there. How many of you guys have heard of OpenSea before? Okay, so good percentage. Yeah, so the structure of the discussion, the first piece, I'll just kind of go over what OpenSea is, what we do, just to kind of set the stage and provide the context. And then the second part of the discussion, we can sort of go through a few projects that have worked with OpenSea, and talk about what might work, what's been tried, and go over some kind of early experiments. And the focus of the discussion is kind of what games are trying with regards to business models. So, so basically, the kind of discussion of with a new open economy, what kinds of business models work for new projects. So to start, a quick overview of OpenSea. So OpenSea is a decentralized marketplace for blockchain-based assets. So these are non-fungible tokens. So the first of these was CryptoKitties, which most of you have probably heard of. But they pioneered the ERC 721 standard, which basically allowed us to create a generic open marketplace for any ERC 721 item. So we've had, I think up to date, we've had over 60 different categories of items, one of which was CryptoKitties, but there have been many others to follow. There are now millions of these ERC 721 items on the blockchain. And our model moving forward is we are working more closely with games to build kind of these customized white label marketplaces so that they can immediately get liquidity for their assets without having to build everything themselves. So this is kind of what OpenSea looks like. It's a digital asset marketplace. And the way that OpenSea works is similar to 0x with wallet-to-wallet trades. So you create a signed message saying you want to sell something. It stays in your wallet, but then a buyer can come and fulfill that auction and immediately receive the asset in exchange for either ETH or whatever ERC20 token you price the item in. This also means that you can create eBay-style auctions for items. So this is a fancy CryptoKitty where someone decided to put it on sale for 100 ETH, but no one has bought it yet, except that there have been some offers for a lot less than the listing price. So this sort of signed message methodology allows you to create offers on any crypto collectible, even if it's not on sale. It also allows you to do interesting things across games. So we recently launched a feature called Bundles, which allows you to create a mixed set of ERC 721 items across potentially many different games and sell those for a single price. So on the left here, we have a CryptoKitty, a Panda Earth creature, and a Crypto Crystal, all of which are kind of early crypto game experiments sold for a single price. And then, most importantly for us, we think that the exciting element of blockchain is the ability to leverage these open protocols immediately for your project and get instant access to everything that we've built. So OpenSea works with a lot of projects to provide an instant marketplace for their items. Which means that they get every single OpenSea feature for free. They can kind of customize it however they want to look. They can set their fees for secondary sales, and then they can kind of get insight onto how people are buying and selling their items. And the kind of interesting thing about this that a lot of people who are maybe a little more new to blockchain, what kind of surprises them and amazes them is that in order for something to be tradable on OpenSea, all you need to do is implement ERC 721 and then provide some way of accessing the metadata for your assets. So as long as you've done that, your item is instantly tradable. It's instantly, you can instantly Dutch auction it, you can instantly bundle it together with a bunch of items, other items, you can instantly have bids on it, and all you have to do is implement ERC 721. So that's just an example. And then lastly, what we're doing kind of on the partner side is we provide a white labeled marketplace. So a lot of the games that we work with often want to have the look and feel of their original game with all of the functionality that OpenSea provides. So in that case, we kind of reskin the marketplace to feel more like the games marketplace. And then finally, for game developers that want to build their own marketplace, we expose all of the OpenSea contract functionality in their JavaScript library that lets them build their own. So this is an example called Ethereum, which was an early card game built on the Ethereum platform that basically integrated with OpenSea and built their own marketplace. And the interesting thing about that was because all of the orders were on OpenSea's order books, every single card that was for sale on the native Ethereum marketplace also shows up immediately on the OpenSea marketplace. And then to kind of, as an early experiment in sort of building a symbiotic relationship with these games, we do a revenue share split. So OpenSea takes a cut on every secondary sale, and we split this with the original game developer. So yeah, before we launch into the discussion, does anyone have any questions about how OpenSea works or kind of what the early gaming environment looks like? Cool. So yeah, so to kind of start the discussion, we just wanted to kind of talk about like what do blockchain games look like compared to existing traditional games. So many of you may have heard of Fortnite, and this is kind of the existing model for games, and it's a very vertically integrated model. So with a game like Fortnite, you have the game items, you have the game logic, and then you have the UI all kind of bundled together. And this looks very different than some of the early blockchain games. So with CryptoKitties, you sort of had to start with, you had the same bundle. You had sort of the CryptoKitties items, which were ERC 721. You had the game logic, which were smart contracts, and you had the user interface for interacting with all these things. And CryptoKitties, they built their own marketplace, they built their own reading functionality, and they kind of abstracted everything away from the user. But what was really interesting was that because you had a lot of this logic and all the items on the blockchain, you could actually build a bunch of different kind of second layer experiences. So the first of those were just sort of very simple experiences that you might see with other games. So things like explorers. So Kitty Explorer was one of the first of these. And there have been these sorts of second layer experiences for other games where you can sort of visualize all of the items in the game, see what's going on. But it was a lot easier with something like CryptoKitties because you immediately could watch events on the blockchain. You could immediately get a sense of what was happening in the game, and you could immediately build all of these other explorer sites. And there have probably been 20 or 30 other ways to explore CryptoKitties after the original CryptoKitties experience. And then secondly, you had sort of second layer experiences like Kitty Hats and Kitty Race, which took the ERC 721 items and added a smart contract on top of them that let you do interesting things with your CryptoKitties. So in the case of Kitty Hats, you could accessorize your CryptoKitties, and in the case of Kitty Race, you could race your CryptoKitties for money. And then of course, For us, we came along and built a secondary marketplace on top of CryptoKitties, which allowed anyone to buy and sell not only CryptoKitties but other sorts of ERC 721 items. Yeah, so I'm just curious, like, what are people's thoughts on the benefits of sort of the unbundled model that CryptoKitties pioneered versus the vertically integrated model?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's simple to make, I guess, core experiences on top of things. For example, like, I think Minecraft really took off because it had a really good bonding community, so people were able to use on top of it. So it makes it easier to do something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, my 2 cents is, like, however much personally I might like all the kitty hats and kitty race stuff, like what people did in terms of CryptoKitties, most activity on was just the trading aspect. And I think that's why, because it's not as available in other games. Just to trade them, for whatever you want. Mostly, ETH, which is in some way globally accepted currency. That's what just made it so viral. And as much as we might all, like all the other hypothetical stuff, none of them have quite gotten that much traction yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's doubling down on that trading aspect or we're trying to unbundle everything that's going to take us in the direction that we want to go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think part of it was that none of the ecosystem really existed when CryptoKitties launched, so they had to build every single thing themselves, right? They had to build their own marketplace, they had to build their own UI. ERC 721 was what they invented, right? And so the kind of early second layer experiences were very much experimental as opposed to native. And so our hypothesis is that, yeah, I think trading is the first killer app, but maybe once things become a little more robust, it'll be easier to build things like kitty race, and maybe we'll see a little more of that. Any other thoughts?
I wanted to pose a question. What do you guys think is the most undervalued or underutilized function in ERC 721?
Yeah, I mean, I think enumerate is probably not used with how many wallets out there that display things. Yeah.
Enumerate meaning don't take all users' tokens?
But you're saying ERC 721 set, right? There's one get this of tokens and buy the
Oh yeah.
Right? People are not using that. That's true.
Yeah, and to Emery's point, I think just another quick case study where we saw kind of the next generation of unbundling. Again, not perfect, but a step in that direction. So this was a game called Etheremon, which some people make fun of because it's so close to Pokemon. They just put it on the blockchain. But it was a cool case study because with Etheremon, they started with the initial game, but then of course you have because it's on the blockchain, you can now access it through a bunch of different wallets, which is the first level of unbundling. And then they added a token, and of course instead of building their own token exchange, which wouldn't make any sense, this token started getting listed on exchanges. So then that sort of added another level of complexity to the economy. And then they, initially they had their own marketplace, but then when they started adding new items, they just used OpenSea for the marketplace. And so now you sort of have this new user base of primarily just traders coming in and speculating on some of the assets in Etheremon. And then next, they started playing around with scaling platforms. And then what's been really interesting is they now have a game that partners with them where you can buy the initial game items using the Etheremon token. And so what I've actually seen going on, recently, I think it was last month, this was happening on OpenSea, was that people were buying the items on the layer 2 game called My Crypto Heroes with the Etheremon token, and then trying to resell those heroes on OpenSea. So you kind of introduce, again, it's a small scale, as was mentioned, like the number of people playing these games is pretty small, but you start introducing kind of this weird interplay of new people coming into the market and then speculating and kind of making these markets happen, as opposed to if you had kept everything vertically integrated in the initial game, you never really would have gotten that full ecosystem. So yeah, I think that was kind of the next generation after CryptoKitties that sort of saw some of that interesting smoke with what CryptoKitties did and took it to a slightly more interesting level.
Yeah. If you go back to the Fortnite, obviously a fantastically successful game, franchise, I don't know. Can you just spell it out? If you were to go to Fortnite and try and sell them the benefits of OpenSea, unbundling their games as it stands, and were able to access their coding resources and design, what are the benefits that you would highlight to them of using them?
Yeah, and there's actually a great post on why blockchain doesn't make sense for Fortnite. So in fact, and I to some extent agree with it. I think the reality is, right, the blockchain ecosystem is pretty small right now, right? And so the trade-off for a game like Fortnite is, do you extract value by owning every single piece of the user experience and essentially locking down other parts of the ecosystem, like marketplaces, like op stands and things like that? So do you extract value by closing off, or do you attempt to increase the overall size of your ecosystem by opening up, right? And that trade-off right now looks like, essentially, do you want to be an Etheremon, or do you want to be an open Etheremon or a closed Fortnite, and or an open CryptoKitties, or whatever kind of small blockchain game? And that trade-off for an incumbent is like, if we use blockchain, it's going to be much more difficult user experience. Yes, you have marketplaces like OpenSea. Yes, you have potentially like layer 2 experiences, much more open ecosystem, but it's much smaller because it's just an early space. And so it makes more sense to just build everything yourself and take sell items. If you have a marketplace, I don't think Fortnite has a marketplace, but if you did, which a lot of games do, take fees on the closed marketplace and kind of lock down trading. But I think what's interesting there is that ignores what happens when the open ecosystem gets bigger. So when the open ecosystem gets bigger, and there's millions of people trading on open marketplaces, there's millions of people using crypto wallets, there's millions of people, or I guess hundreds of thousands of developers who want to build layer 2 experiences, then at that point, it starts to make sense to build in a way that you can leverage every single piece of the open ecosystem. Does that make sense? But I think, so the trade-off right now is closed versus open. Closed is a lot better because it's just the user experience is so much better right now. But when all of those pieces of the user experience of the open ecosystem start coming together, you may be able to expose your game to a much broader audience because all sorts of things can be built on top of it. Marketplaces, layer 2 experiences, etc.
Okay, so you are saying that Fortnite is closed, but if I'm a Fortnite development team, I may decide to open it up even without blockchain, right? I can release all kinds of developer kits. I can even encourage secondary markets, which will be centralized, but there can be more of them.
Yeah.
In this case, if this would happen, what would be still the benefit of blockchain over this?
Yeah, I think blockchain is, so you're right that I think you could create, technically, ERC20 could have been created as a centralized database with an open API, right? But there's a component, and it's really interesting because the primary, blockchain is just another type of computing where you can trust that the interface is always there, right? And I would say that's the difference between that and a centralized API.
Some kind of longevity of the ecosystem.
Longevity, trustlessness.
it seems like there needs to be like compelling business reasons for a game developer to get to like start issuing assets as tokens, rather than saying, oh, like our customers want it, or like, oh, it's good enough now, or something like that. So have you seen, like, I guess, interest in the gaming world of like, oh shit, we can literally like make crypto game assets and we're gonna make a ton of money for it. Like that's why we're doing it, or is it more like experimental and like just like interest?
I would say it's a combination of experimental on one side and marketing on the other side. Yeah. So a lot of, I mean, with CryptoKitties, for example, technically, right, you could have created a full CryptoKitties experience. You could have even used MetaMask to like take ETH, but then you could have just put everything on the database. Yeah. But marketing was really important there, right? Because there was the idea of true digital ownership. There were a lot of people coming into crypto. A lot of people have ETH. And so I think there's a good number of projects. I don't know if you've seen MLB Crypto Baseball, sure. But they've basically been able to kind of engage this new audience that really cares about digital ownership.
Headlines and
exactly. And then I think the other class of projects, should have a slide on, is like the projects that are, this is like the experimental space, right? But what's interesting about the experimental space is you can basically bootstrap through modularity of this ecosystem. What I mean by that is, so a project called CryptoVoxels is kind of a miniature version of Decentraland, where it's just one developer. He puts all of his items on the blockchain, and then he builds this kind of Minecraft type experience where if you own the land, you can build blocks on top of it. But he's so lean about like what he builds versus what he outsources to other players. So, for example, he just does all his sales on OpenSea. He'll just like sell off his items, and I think he sold maybe 30 or 40 ETH worth of items. He uses that to fund his project, as opposed to like having to build the marketplace, having to build the game, the full game item logic, all of that. He's been able to bootstrap a lot more easily. So we've seen this with like a couple different card games, and I think as like it becomes easier and easier to create these items through also like better ways to post metadata, other interesting things you can do with the items, like use them for loans, better wallet ecosystems, better platforms. It becomes really interesting for that small player to just like plug in, focus on a very small piece of the ecosystem, maybe it's just their game, and leverage all the other pieces of it.
Yeah.
So I think for bigger players it's marketing, for smaller players it's like bootstrapping.
Yeah.
There's also this like new kind of amateur collector that's like this new user base that's being discovered. Just kind of like ICOs discovered an amateur investor inside of a lot of people. We're seeing like a bunch of users kind of get interested in games for their collector appeal, and whole new markets get made this way. Has anyone here heard of StockX? Yeah. Raise your hand if you've heard of StockX. So this is a company that flips exclusive shoes, mostly exclusive real-life shoes. They have like they have indexes that they track for each shoe. They have the Jordan index, and Nike index, and Adidas index. This site is close to like $1 billion runway rate now, and it's because like no one guessed it, but there were just this big class of amateur collectors who like to correctly price exclusive items. And I think like a lot of these games are discovering that, and this is the perfect platform for it. But I think that the remaining challenge is how do we get some of those benefits from this amateur collector class to accrue to the developer? Because a lot of big brands, including Fortnite, would like look at stuff getting sold on eBay and go, like, we're not getting any of that value. Like somehow our stuff is getting sold on eBay, and we're not getting anything. Nike and Adidas complain about eBay all the time.
Would you say that these people are actually sort of attracted to the collectability of the item, or they're just speculators?
Sort of a fuzzy line.
I figure like baseball cards or something originally, people, I mean, they weren't priced at all, and then eventually, that's a big thing, like a culture thing, then you get these insane prices.
Yeah, I think like a lot of these games are discovering that, and this is the perfect platform for it. We hit, but I think that the remaining challenge is how do we get some of those benefits from this amateur collector class to accrue to the developer? Because a lot of big brands, including Fortnite, would like look at stuff getting sold on eBay and go, like, we're not getting any of that value. Like somehow our stuff is getting sold on eBay, and we're not getting anything. Nike and Adidas complain about eBay all the time.
So I wonder if people are maybe playing on that. I mean, I've heard people say, well, I can keep this in my wallet, like the Friends project specifically. They were very interested in this angle, which was kind of unpredictable based on the nature of the game. But I figured like maybe they're just speculating. They want to have the early ones, so maybe later, they'll sell them for a profit.
So when I hear just speculators, I sort of think they're collectors with zero passion for the item. They're just interested in the revenue. But collectors, from sort of like the conversations I've been having with these players, actually have passion for the items intrinsically. In addition to like the financial reward you get for having that passion. So it's sort of a fuzzy line. I'd say like, in general, collectors like to communicate with each other a lot more than with speculators, which is why we see a lot of these games doing well on Discord, or making Discord communities instead of Telegram communities, potentially. Because Telegram tends to be like way higher density speculators.
I could chime in there a bit. Yeah, I think that's a really important question. We built a project called Super Rare, which is like a crypto art sort of trading platform. So instead of game items, it's original like digital artwork. And I think ideally the answer is kind of a mix of both, like passion about the project you were talking about, and then FOMO of like, oh shit, this is a really valuable asset. And so in our community, it's definitely partly about supporting the creator and buying something that they're issuing, but also like if an artist gets in an auction or like gets a lot of media, like one of the artists got listed in Christie's, all their stuff sold out immediately because people were like, oh shit, this is gonna be big. So I think ideally it's like a mix of I want to have it, maybe it's useful for a future game, and then I think it's also gonna go up in value. Because that's like really why people buy crypto assets.
So Alex, to go back to something you mentioned earlier, you mentioned that in all these secondary market trades of assets, like the original creator or developer is not earning any revenue. And I was wondering if you could elaborate on what, like that sounds nice, but like why would that, like logically speaking, make sense? In that like today I can buy a car, and in 50 years if it's like a collectible car or something, I'm paying for the full value of that car today. And to me it makes sense that if I sell it 10 years from now, I should be earning the full value of that, like whatever that car is worth 10 years from now as well. So I was wondering if you could kind of elaborate on what you mean, like why that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. You're basically saying, what if you're double spending to the developer?
Yeah.
Buy it initially,
right,
and then why should the next value exchange also go back to the developer? Yeah, so I think it's a really, really good question. So sort of like, I don't know what this easel is for, but maybe this would be a good time to use it. Right now, we defer to the developer because the ecosystem is so popular with developers. There's really good product dev fit. Product market fit is more hazy, right? So developers usually want a cut of secondary sales, but in practice, we've seen like most of the games we work with want to be totally hands-off. Like they just want users to get what they want. And that's kind of, I guess, similar to the status quo of like a humble bundle or something, where users decide exactly how much they want to give to the dev versus charity versus humble bundle. So, sort of like the way we do fees right now, everything gets kind of triggered when there's like a transfer from call on our contract. And like our default setting is like we do a 2.5% seller fee. We do a 0% buyer fee, which means that the buyer is paying exactly what they think they're paying. The seller is getting 2.5% less than what they're selling for. And then the rest goes to the seller. So this is kind of like a really, in a way it's a dumb fee model because it's not actually listening to the market. And what so far we've been doing is trying to make this side programmable revenue. And to us, like, I guess like what our vision is to make programmable revenue really accurately reflect the liquidity demands of the market for the game. So if it's like Fortnite, it's just not going to happen unless the developer gets a cut, then there is no liquidity unless the developer is going to get a cut of secondary sales, right? Otherwise, you're totally locked into a centralized system. So in that case, we'd likely do a dev fee, even though the dev is getting double compensated in the sense that you're thinking. Without that, they wouldn't happen. There's some like cases where that's just going to be like a dev requirement. What we want to do though is let it so they can decide to release that requirement in the future. If they're like, oh, we don't, let's just like let the secondary market thrive itself, then this needs to be flexible. So there's like stuff that needs to go to the dev, there's stuff that needs to go to brokers or affiliates, basically like whoever referred the sale. And there may be other players in the future too, like new players.
Yeah, I think, so it's really hard to enforce like a secondary sale fee. I think that won't be a thing, right? Like because you have, the user can transfer it, right? So you can just take Venmo money and it would require some trust, but I think the idea behind fees is compensating the broadcaster of the auctions, right? And that'll very much depend on what that ecosystem looks like, right? So I think the best model is like the 0x relayer ecosystem. I don't know who's taking fees, who isn't. But the idea is that there needs to be some way to compensate marketplaces, and an incentive system for getting games onto your marketplace is to share that compensation with them. But again, it's early, so that's kind of what we're working with right now, and that may well change as the ecosystem evolves.
I might also add, I think like it depends on the nature of the product, right? If it's a very valuable item, you're going to make sure you get as little fees as possible, and that's what happens in normal exchanges as well. Like people do OTC trades because of multiple reasons, one of which is the fee structure. But like something as a casual game like CryptoKitties, if the marketplace experience is easy enough for the average user, they're not going to care. I think is another thing, and that gets to your programmability point, where for some items it's maybe going to be 2.5%. For others, it might be less, more bifurcated. So.
In my experience as a gamer, basically, I've seen a lot of games during the time starting to create like these marketplaces. Like for instance, Diablo 3 was one of the first to introduce marketplaces, and or League of Legends for the skins never included the marketplace, and people start selling accounts. And then CSGO started to have this secondary market for skins and things like that. But the companies all the time are shutting this down because they're creating just problems to the game. What can you see as a real value to these kind of companies in having a secondary market? Because so far, what I can see is like companies shutting down accounts because they are doing the secondary market, or companies removing the feature because otherwise there are the farmers creating items for selling them, and ruining the game in a buy to win instead of pay to win instead of play to win, kind of. Where do you think there will be the moment in which the real company, the real game developer, will want this feature to give a special secret sauce to the next Fortnite, to the next Hearthstone, to the next?
Yeah, I mean, back, like, kind of the point the gentleman back there was making around, like, we don't see Fortnite interested in this market right now as it stands until it grows a good amount. So we think indies will be the first to leverage, and I think this is a value prop for indies, right, as they get access to everything. But once that ecosystem matures, I think two things will enable a secondary marketplace to make sense for Fortnite. One, or for a big player capture revenue on the secondary sales from the secondary marketplace, so partnering with someone like OpenSea, for example. And the second is an ability to estimate. So the theory behind secondary marketplaces is they actually grow demand. They shift the demand curve for the initial items because people are more willing to purchase things that they could resell. That's a very hard value prop to make because it's like you can't really A/B test that, right? You can't A/B test having an open marketplace or a secondary marketplace versus not, and so it's all theoretical. But I think once a company or two proves out this idea that the secondary marketplace grows demand for the initial set of items, then bigger players will start getting interested because they'll be like, wow, we get access to this entire like new user base of traders and speculators that wouldn't exist if we closed off the economy. And to your point about, but I think your point about pay to win is really important. And I think it'll depend very much on the game, but I could see potential lockdown of items that give a gameplay advantage, but opening up items that are purely cosmetic, right? So I think that's what we've seen with early games in the space is they basically try to preserve the free-to-play or play to do better, and then have these cosmetic items as well.
Zombie Battleground.
So Zombie Battleground is a game by the Loop Network, and they have a model where all of the cards that give you a skill advantage, you earn by playing. So when you participate in tournaments, you can earn those better cards. So everyone or anyone who wants to play can play and level up in the game. But then they have these cosmetic items that you can also earn at some low frequency as you play, but those are tradable. So for the people who want to like have their pack look cool, there's this open marketplace for those. They've yet to launch that, so let's see how it goes.
So regarding to accounts, people are selling and buying accounts because they want to play with leveled up character. Is there today any technology stack that allows you to create some kind of playable character, tokenize it, and then maybe even sell it and like be open about it? About like buying and selling playable characters with some kind of skills, with some kind of levels?
On blockchain, not really. Like there are definitely a few games where your character's your items attributes change over time, and then you can resell them. But I can't think of a game where like you can resell your character that has like accumulated stuff. But it's bound to happen. It's a good idea. Unless you can.
But the question was, if a game where you could resell your character with more stuff added on top.
If today there is a technology stack like NFTs or something else around blockchain which allows for this to be created.
For like composing things together?
Yeah, let's say you have one playable character. You can have items, you can have like stuff like that cards, but this is something different. But then you have like one central character which you use to play the game. Let's say some kind of RPG, and then you would level it up, stack it with items, and then sell it like a bundle. You wouldn't just sell the items, you would sell the actual character with levels and stuff.
I think ERC-7 works decently well for that, and then there's the composable standard on top of it, which in theory lets you like attach other NFTs to your main NFT, but no one's really done it like super well yet.
Okay, guys, let's do one more question so we can get to the next one. Great, guys,
Last question. Okay, so I have one as well. So with regards to the last question. There is something else I have on my mind, and this is like puzzle tokens, and you need like 6 tokens to create one thing, and this thing is like something else qualitatively. Is that being built or something like that?
Let's see. What games have done that? It's definitely been talked about a lot.
Like puzzle tokens that come together and do what?
Do something else. Like you have like 5 cards, and if you combine them together, you have like a whole different level of character or a whole different card, which is much more powerful, let's say.
Oh.
And you need like 5 of them, or you need like 5 unique cards to combine it together.
I feel like CryptoKitties does this.
Definitely there's been talk of it. We were interested in doing something like that at some point. see Crypto Strikers? It was just like a really simple card game with like soccer players. And there was like basically no game mechanic other than when you bought them, you randomly got like a rare card. And people like loved that. And if you could add a like collection, mints another card mechanic to that, I think it would be like, you should do it.
Okay.
Thanks guys.